This is Just Say HIE, the official podcast of the Hope for HIE Foundation. I'm Betsy Pilon, your host, bringing the stories of the HIE community from around the world to you, our listeners. Hope for HIE is a nonprofit organization and the largest collective of HIE families anywhere in the world, and each story across all outcomes has its own version of hope to share. Join us as we explore each unique journey and connection. Welcome, everyone. I'm really excited to have a conversation with David Ford, who's the president of the board of directors for Hope for HIE, and it is giving season once again. And we have a lot of different things we want to talk about today, David. First, I want to start with you sharing a little bit about your connection to HIE and especially Hope for HIE, what spurred you to get involved, several years ago now, and as you're serving your second stint on the Hope board.
Sure. Thanks, Betsy. We got involved with Hope for HIE shortly after my daughter Scarlett was born. My wife, Heidi, was surfing the internet, as many of us parents do, and she came across Hope for HIE. We joined the Facebook group, got quite a bit of support and information through the family group, and have since turned back to the community many times as our daughter has grown and her circumstances have changed, and either she or we have needed support or information prior to a doctor's appointment. She experienced a hypoxic event either shortly before or during her birth. She spent about 2 weeks in the NICU at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, as we're located in suburban Philadelphia. And she's now a first grader and just had her 7th birthday.
Yeah, it's been wonderful to watch. One of the things that we love to do in the community is watch these kids grow up. Really, I know that you guys have, woven in and out as needs, as many of our families do, as needs pop up and support. I'd love to hear more about, what really kind of spurred you on to get more involved with Hope for HIE.
Well, I currently own and operate a small family business. I've been doing that for about 7 years. I'm a second-generation business owner. Prior to that, I spent about 10 years in professional development in the nonprofit sector. My career started with United Way, and then I worked for 2 community-based anti-poverty organizations, and enjoyed the profession. The reason I left it was because my parents were looking to exit the business, and that was our succession plan. But when I found Hope for HIE, I felt like I could contribute using my development experience to help advance the mission of the organization, which is how I ended up here. So
you've done an incredible amount of work for the organization, and you started in one role, and now you've obviously there's been a lot of change and a lot of growth with the organization, which you have helped contribute to significantly over the past couple of years. So I'd love to hear real quick, what is one thing that you're most proud of that you've brought to the organization and seeing the growth that's happened?
Boy, it's tough to put my finger on one thing. There's been so much growth and so much activity and so many new partners and wonderful things that have happened in my 5 or so years, or maybe a little longer, 6 years involved with Hope for HIE. I think the genesis of being able to hire an executive director and make that transition from a volunteer-run organization with very limited resources to a more professional and more mature organization with a paid professional was probably the biggest turning point, and one of the things I'm most proud of in the time that I've been on the board. I would say too, the medical advisory board and the growth there has been absolutely extraordinary. We have this wonderful group of professionals that care a lot about HIE and the families that we support, and they have helped us make connections and advance the mission and spread information and awareness about HIE in a way that we never could have done otherwise. So I have to pick 2. It's the evolution towards the professional staff and the medical advisory board, I think, are the things that have been the two most impressive benchmarks that I've enjoyed in my time on the board.
Thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about, what, the organization does and what, kind of people get excited about during the holiday giving season, which, really kind of kicks off in mid-November and goes to the end of the year. And there's, a whole evolution of the concept of Giving Tuesday, which started in the US, is now a global movement of giving. And, kind of how we get families involved in giving to the organization. And giving doesn't necessarily have to be monetary. There's a bunch of different ways to be involved. That is giving of time, of talents, and of resources to our organization.
Sure. Well, I guess I'll start with my own personal involvement with the organization over the years. I initially got involved in more of the advocacy and awareness role on the board. And as part of that, one thing I did was lead the effort in my state of Pennsylvania to have Awareness Month recognized by the state legislature, the governor, and some other elected officials in our region. And that is certainly something that was important to me. A group of families from Pennsylvania visited the Capitol, was recognized as the legislation was passed. We had an opportunity to interact with our legislators and tell them a little bit about our families. And that's something that other families in other states can get involved with. We have templates for that. So aside from just, I think that's a good example of ways families can contribute without opening their wallets or shaking down their friends and family for donations. So I wanted to kind of start there because there are some entry points that don't involve raising money necessarily. But as far as raising money, I mean, essentially, the organization needs resources to function. We do a variety of things. The money goes towards a number of different programs and initiatives. And so that's a sort of a necessary function of a nonprofit organization. So that's why we ask for money. That's why we seek corporate support. That's why we seek grants. That's why we do the things we do. So the money typically comes to the organization in a few different ways. There's some fundraising initiatives that we do throughout the year, including Giving Tuesday, our holiday appeal, the Hustle for Hope virtual 5K, our Partners in Hope corporate and foundation giving program. For example, I typically do a Facebook fundraiser in concert with my daughter's birthday each year. My wife and I, when we decide what our budget for charitable giving is for the year, we typically split it between a year-end gift and a matching gift that helps, hopefully helps facilitate giving to our Facebook fundraiser in honor of our daughter's birthday. So we'll agree to match a certain number of dollars to that fundraiser. I think that shows good faith in the charity and our shared interest in the mission. And then we make a year-end gift to Hope for HIE in addition to that. And that's sort of how we plan out our giving. I know we typically, during the holiday giving season, we typically try to shoot for 100 Facebook fundraisers for, with a goal of $100 each. I think we call that our 100 for 100 campaign. So if you're inclined and you're on Facebook, I'm not very active, but I always make a point to hit my friends up for support, and they're always very generous, which I appreciate. And I get to tell a little bit more about Scarlett and share updates about her. This year we were lucky enough to be able to share a nice video from her 7th birthday of she and her friends dancing. So that was fun and well received by my supporters. So it's a nice way to celebrate her and also acknowledge their role in her life and their support for her. And it just, it's an all around positive thing each year. I get nice comments from my friends and who have followed her journey from day one. So we also, people can contribute through the website. They can make an online gift. They can write a check. They can send us a money order, anything like that. The information's all there. If you go to our website, hopeforhie.org, and click donate, you'll see the variety of options we have. You can make a monthly recurring donation.
So, I think with the 100 for 100, I want to touch on that a little bit. We will be sharing some kind of how-tos with that whole campaign. The past couple years have been really wonderful to see people getting so excited and involved in that campaign. We try to send like a thank you gift, for people's participation, which is kind of fun. And, it's really great to hit our targets, obviously, because it's not just about monetary, as you mentioned. Part of, what I think so many of our families are looking for and want to give back to the organization is that support that they receive themselves. And one of the best ways to do that is to share your story. And these Facebook fundraisers in particular are such a nice tool because you can share you can, as much or as little as you want about your journey. Some people, their comfort level is wide ranging, which is totally understandable. But for those of us, especially that, really didn't hear about HIE until we Googled it, being there and allowing us to have those resources and the things that we've been able to do with this, this monetary contributions and turn it into, ways to better connect families, I think is really powerful. And when we hear stories of families from all around the world now who receive a pamphlet or a support box, right in the NICU, newly diagnosed, and, knowing that they can connect to this, worldwide support network of families, it's really powerful. And really just being able to, you just never know who is going to be impacted by HIE and who's going to hear of how to connect. My kiddo now is 9 and, obviously I think we've made a lot of progress over the past 9 years, where, it will haunt me, I think, forever of feeling that alone feeling in the NICU and then not finding any sort of connection, not being pointed to any connection, and then finally stumbling upon Hope for HIE in the blogosphere out there, and knowing that none of us who do this work, why we do it is so that no one feels alone when they're diagnosed and that they have those resources. So I think, celebrating is a big thing as well. HIE is real heavy. We know that. It's a diagnosis no one wants to get, but here we are. And really, kind of sharing, like you said, the bright parts of that, I know you shared before, and we've talked about this. Both of our kids have some coordination challenges sometimes. And, we both found a bike that works for our kids and sharing in that together. And then sharing that with other families in our community as a tool, which we're excited to do a giveaway with our holiday giveaways and add that type of bike to our giveaway this year as one of the holiday giveaways, which, I'll talk a little bit about that. So we've been able to, some of the things that we do with, the resources that are gifted upon us is try to give back to our community. And one of the things that we love to do every year at the holiday season is our 10 days of holiday giveaways. And we try to come up with, products that people have shared that they would love to get that maybe are a little bit out of the budget, and insurance doesn't cover or other means don't cover. And we are able to gift those away. And, we've done this, I think, for 6 years now. So we've given away over, I think $70,000 worth of, equipment and, quality of life enhancement for our families. And this past year in particular, we were able to extend out our giveaway gifting into our lost community, which was really, really wonderful to be able to do, because sometimes the products that we focus on with our giveaways can be, for living HIE children. And we want to make sure that our lost community knows that we're, supporting them as well. And especially during a season that can be extra hard. And I know that was really well received, and that was, coordinated and lifted up by Becky Detleff, who serves on our board, and she also serves as the loss coordinator. So, it's just the evolution of how we've been able to expand these programs has been really exciting.
Yeah, I want to go back to something you said earlier, and I think one of the things that that means a lot to me and motivates me and inspires me to continue to support Hope for HIE and remain involved with the board and many other things that we do, is the fact that, you're really, HIE is a challenging thing. The uncertainty, the grief, the burden of care that often accompany an HIE diagnosis can really grind down parents, caregivers. I know there were times where we felt hopeless and isolated and lonely and quote unquote different than many of our peers with children that didn't have the same experience we did. It's a wonderful thing when you find that there are people that have no reason to really understand, know about, or frankly care about HIE, that are willing to put aside time to invest in the mission. I can remember my first medical advisory board. I was sitting there on the call, and I just couldn't believe that there was this community of folks who cared, I would say probably as much as I do, about my daughter and her needs and the care she received and the support we received. It's so much more than the tangible support of a donation. It's a message that our families receive that says you're not alone. There's hope. People care. It's not just your closed community of HIE families. There's many, many, many people working really, really hard to improve treatment, prevention measures, and support systems for families that are in the same situation we're in. And that really is inspirational. And it's, I wish that I could bottle that and send it to every one of our families, because it really does mean the world to me when somebody is willing to say, I care and I understand why you need support. And yes, we can make this better. I can remember the conversation we had with a company called Aspect Imaging. They happen to do bedside MRI machines. And we talked with a wonderful person from the organization about MRI Day and the weight that carries, and the expectations and the mysterious nature of the MRI process, and dealing with neurologists and all these things. And she, it was really interesting to be able to educate her about what that experience is like and how their medical equipment can make that process a little less scary, a little less invasive and cumbersome. And it just, this whole discussion about MRI Day came out of it. And she, we were fortunate enough to be able to share with her how that impacted us. And in turn, she told us, hey, this piece of equipment might make that different. It might make it a little easier. And so those are the kind of conversations that can really change the course of things for families in our situation. We're working right now with some medical research folks who are working on some pretty exciting treatments for HIE. And that's something that there are very limited options at this point, but when you interact with these folks, you gain a sense of hope and investment and connection that really does. It has the potential to change the course of history for families with HIE. And that's something that fills a bucket in my life that really I can't fill any other way. And it allows me to, I think, give back for what I've received from Hope for HIE. It also allows me it empowers me to sort of wrestle back control over some of the things that I went through and allow me to process and deal with those things in a fruitful way. So that also benefits Hope for HIE and the families that we support.
Absolutely. And I think, we can talk a little bit about, some of these things through the giving season, but also I want to mention, we're constantly working to bring more education to our families, more ways to empower families to feel that they have tools in their toolkit when they're looking at, problem solving some of these, complicated issues that pop up in subsequent diagnoses and things like that. And one of the things I just want to touch on is that we're really working on planning out a family conference next for, online conference for next fall in 2022. And want to touch on that a little bit, because when you talk about the energy of the researchers and clinicians that we work with that are dedicating their lives to finding ways to help our community, I'm really excited because we have been in touch with so many that want to have this collaborative space to hear from families, to hear what is, the biggest burden, to talk through, kind of in some different formats and really, connect with other researchers that they might not have otherwise known about because of this, community coming together like we have. So I'm really excited for that. There'll be more details on that, obviously, as we go. But, really, it's another opportunity, I think, and long overdue to bring our community together, our global community, in a way that people can access, that is helpful, and really kind of feel what we have been privileged to feel in a lot of these meetings that you and I get to have and our board gets to have as we build out and connect more people in different ways. So let's talk about the upcoming opportunities that we're hoping to to have our community partake in, and, really the broader community participate in as well. So, the first big one for us is Giving Tuesday, and that is Tuesday, November 30th. What makes it really unique for us, our community lives and breathes on Facebook, for better or for worse some days. But one of the things that Facebook has done for nonprofits and has been consistent about is offering fee-free donations for confirmed nonprofits. We're a confirmed nonprofit on Facebook, which is wonderful. So, unlike other platforms, we get 100% of all donations, which is really unique. And Facebook, the past several years, has either themselves donated back or partnered with other organizations to help, create a match opportunity for nonprofits like ours. And we have benefited on more years than not, which is great. And they've changed their algorithm again this year to help out some of the smaller nonprofits like ours. So at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on November 30th, you and I are going to go live. And we're going to hopefully get as much of the match as we can. So for people that are able to, or their networks are able to be aware of, giving on Giving Tuesday, this is really a great opportunity to really maximize every dollar that comes back to allow us to do more work. We work hard to maximize every single dollar that comes to us. And so this is just another great opportunity. So we'll be going live. We'll set up and we'll start about 5 minutes before 8 on the 30th Eastern Standard Time. And we'll encourage live donations during that time so people get the notification to give at that time. I will certainly be giving at that time personally from our family as well, and encouraging my family and friends who typically are very generous to give back to our organization to do so at that time. So we'll be sharing an event into our forums. We'll be going live from our public Facebook page at that time. And we've promoted that on our website as well. So you don't forget about it. You can add it to your calendar. And that's just a really fun day of giving. That's again, when we're going to launch the 100 for 100 campaign again. And the best time really to have those go live is right on that Giving Tuesday as well. And encouraging people, if you can, to give that at that time through those fundraisers. And we're going to do a little webinar about the best ways to set those up. You can customize them. You can, like David said before, add videos and photos, and really, it's a chance to talk about your kid, which is, amazing. So, who doesn't love to do that in this journey, right? So celebrate all the stones and wonderful things that our kids get to do. Then after Giving Tuesday, we kind of go into our 10 days of holiday giveaways. And again, so it's the give and take. This is when we get to give back to our community. We had teased up a couple of the products earlier in this conversation, but we're really excited. We take membership feedback from our families of what is most meaningful to them. And this is not just like equipment and things like this. This is quality of life. We've done robotic vacuum cleaners and DoorDash gift cards and things that just make, hopefully make the day a little bit easier. Everyone has a lot of priorities and a lot of hard things that take time. And we just want to make everyone feel loved and appreciated, and that they're not alone in this, and hope that we can make their lives or their kids' lives a little bit easier. So we're going to do the 10 days of giveaways once again, and then continue, promoting and asking people to, engage in this 100 for 100 campaign through the end of the calendar year.
Yeah, I would strongly encourage folks to consider setting up a Facebook fundraiser if they're on the platform and they're willing to share their story. It'll take you no more than 5-10 minutes, depending on how much content you want to customize, whether you want to add pictures. And again, consider if you have the means to, setting up a match is usually a good way to encourage people to support your fundraiser. There are a lot of grandparents on Facebook too. Encourage them to set up fundraisers. Grandparents are often a huge, at least in my family, they're a huge part of our support network. They do anything for our daughter, or both of our daughters, really. But they've been there literally from day one and every step of the way since. So reach out to your grandparents out there and say, hey, would you mind setting up a Facebook fundraiser? Because obviously they're going to tap into a completely different network of people than you might be able to tap into. And I'm sure they've already told their friends and their peers lots and lots about their grandchildren. So they're already familiar with the story in a lot of cases. We'd love to hit that 100 for 100 goal and see where that takes us. It's great because one of the nice things that comes out of that campaign is that people get back to us and say, I had no idea I was going to raise this much money, and in some cases it's $250. In some cases it's $2,000. And so any goal, any means that you can achieve in those fundraisers really does make a difference for Hope for HIE and the families that we support. The other thing that we'll be rolling out probably early 2022 is registration for the Hustle for Hope virtual 5K. This will be our third year. The event's been well received since we started a couple of years ago. We happened to time it well because it was sort of on the brink of the pandemic. We originally didn't anticipate that, but the virtual platform for 5Ks worked out quite well. We've had some sponsors over the years. We have, typically more than 200 runners that participate, and you can run, walk, roll, no matter how you do it, as long as you complete the 5K. And heck, if you don't complete the 5K, we're not going to rat you out. You'll still get your shirt and your finishing medal and the other things that we send out to each of the participants. So, it's a fun thing. Again, we have a little Facebook group that we start for that each year. People enjoy sharing photos and stories of how they completed it. You can do it any venue you like. You can do it all at once. You can do it over the course of several mini walks or runs or rolls, whatever you'd like to do. So stay tuned for that. And we've began using an easy to use platform last year that makes registration a breeze. It takes no more than 2 minutes to do it.
Yeah. And we're hoping to encourage people this year now that, the first one was at the onset of COVID. So such an interesting time. We had really hoped to, do some in-person, events with our local chapter groups in particular, but had kind of put that on pause. So we're hoping that this next round, we really encourage people in those local groups to pick a location, pick a date, pick a time, and, get a group together safely outdoors, and really feel, like a good sense of community. That's a really fun opportunity to do that. I know we're planning on doing that for the first time locally to us as well. And get that date and time picked out in location, because we have a lot of local people that really want to get together and do it this year. So looking forward to that. It's a great event that has been something that's really fun. And I think one of the most fun things too is seeing our kids participate, and whether they're in a gait trainer or wheelchair or walk-in or, whatever they're doing, it's just really, really fun to see them participate.
One of our sponsors for the Hustle for Hope virtual 5K in the past has been Trexo Robotics. They're also a partner in Hope. They were our first, in fact, which is the program for corporate and foundation giving. one of the families involved with Trexo has a son who uses a robotic gait trainer developed by Trexo. He completed the virtual 5K in the robotic gait trainer and was featured in Runner's World because of the story and the event. It got some nice press in Runner's World, which is probably the world's largest publication for the running industry. So that was pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah. And again, I think that's another great example of how the greater community comes together around our kids and families. Wonderful. So yeah. So next steps, right? We are excited again to bring, this season of giving to our community and continue to find ways to be involved. So we encourage everyone, we've got some amazing families. I think one of the best parts of being a part of the community is meeting people that you would not have otherwise met, whether that's virtually and then making it, happen in person or just connecting over the interwebs across the world. And that is something that I think is really unique and wonderful about our community. So I encourage everyone, to get involved in obviously the things we've talked about today, but also, find other ways to connect and reach out and be that lamplighter for someone else in their journey. It's really, everyone wins. I think when that happens, you feel good that your story of trauma and difficulty can help someone else and lift them up and show them that there's a lot of good in this journey, despite the hard that comes with it as well. David, I want to thank you for taking your time, not only serving on the board of directors, but just being an impassioned, advocate for Scarlett and for all of our families, and just all the wonderful things that you do to bring new and exciting programs and opportunities for people to participate and give back to the organization and be a part of the organization. We're very lucky to have you and really excited to see this giving season and beyond of what we get to do together.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to both work with you and serve on the board. It's really given me an opportunity to take the grief and the trauma that we experienced and redirect it into something positive that has the potential to impact future families and current families in a positive way. The stories that I hear and the folks that I've met have been inspirational to me, and it's just really, truly an honor to be involved in something I take a lot of pride in and enjoy doing. So thank you very much.
To wrap up another episode of our podcast, and I want to thank you, David, again for everything, and we'll look forward to the next one. Thanks so much, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Hope for HIE's official podcast, Just Say HIE. If you have a story you'd like to share, be sure to keep in touch. Learn more about the work we do and sign up for our newsletter on our website at hopeforhie.org/justsayhie. We look forward to connecting with you soon, and thanks for listening.